Thank you, Kevin and Ann, Waterline and Water Street. I want you all to think for a moment. Imagine that you have all read the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. Now, how many of you would admit to it? I don't see any hands. One. Man. All right, two. All right. This is what the free Kindle download on my laptop looks like. This isn't so new anymore. And I'm going to try to read from this. I love print books, but I'm getting used to the technology, and it's nice to take 1,000 books with you on a vacation with a little device. My occasional torment is obviously about husbands. It was initially titled My Constant Torment, but my wife told me I wasn't that bad. My birthday wasn't too long ago, and my wife got me this watch, which I'm now wearing to any reading that I have. And she wrote something on there that was extremely touching, and an unfortunate incident at a movie theater in Elgin, and those two things combined to form this book. So, oh, by the way, in The Widow's Son, I wrote from the point of view of a 12-year-old boy. River goes from a biracial man, and now you have to imagine I'm a 53-year-old Scottish woman. I should have shaved, but this is what we call willing suspension of disbelief. I'm begging you. I'm going to start with the acknowledgments to give you some enlightenment to it about the antithesis to erotica books. I acknowledge the entire highly successful field of erotica stories in which most everyone is beautiful, educated at Stanford-like universities, happy with wonderful, high-paying careers, and able to have all the unbridled, toe-curling sex and cream pie they want without a thought to the consequences, cellulite, damage to six-pack abs, or that perhaps they and their lovers may have children who also age past 30. I acknowledge among many things that I'm jealous. Congratulations. For the rest of us imperfect, past middle-aged souls, I acknowledge that we have not left the planet, nor are we indefinitely sequestered in a convent in Antarctica, at least not in the pages of My Occasional Torment. In these pages, I acknowledge the rest of us, particularly our fantasy in which the image of youthful, gorgeous, seemingly indestructible erotica gets its sexual ass kicked by a past middle-aged married woman who knows what the good stuff really is all about. Most of all, to April 25th, 1987, and November 23rd, 2001, I thank God for you. Chapter 1, and I'm just going to read chapter 1. All right, 53-year-old Scottish woman, okay. I'm not even going to try the accent. You're just going to have to really suspend that disbelief. Sebastian Connery is my husband, my lover, my friend, my occasional torment. This time, the torment happens at the Gigaplex, our suburban 23-theater movie house. Sebastian and I sit together in theater number 22, and I listen to him go on about the size of the screen. Like a television set, he says. When we were kids, at least our movie screens were larger than our television sets. Then he complains about the size of his soft drink. The small one costs $2. $2 for a thimble holding a couple of sips, for Christ's sake. And for a quarter more, they give me a jug of it 10 times larger than my bladder. You don't have to drink it all. Julia, of course I do, he says, sucking the last of it through the straw. Now I've got to go to the bathroom. The television set hasn't started yet. So he leaves me for the bathroom. And I sit through 3 noisy commercials I don't understand and 5 movie previews that numb my ears. Sebastian still hasn't returned. I sink in my seat, waiting. I know it's coming, and it does. Just as the picture starts, the usher named Dylan comes up to me with his flashlight and shines it on my face for everyone in theater number 22 to see. Mrs. Connery, he says, leaning low to my ear. I cough, stir in my seat, and ask him my pointless question. What? He's been kicked out again. The manager had him arrested. I see, I say, rising to leave. Thank you for whispering this time. With my $100 in hand, plus a 10 for jail processing, I asked the familiar desk sergeant what happened. He apologizes for laughing a bit. Hello, Mrs. Connery, he says, and turns red with pity for me and snorts through his nose when he tries to answer, so I ask Sebastian. Christ's sake, I've been composting in the jail cell, Sebastian says, hefting his elbow-patch tweed coat over his shoulders. What took you so long? Your suit's wrinkled, I say. I say in the car, I clicked the Kindle too soon. I'm driving for a change, and he hates it when I'm in the right lane, then hates it when I'm in the left lane. So I shoot him my disappointed wife look, which nails him and makes him shut up about it. Nobody wears suits to the cinema anymore, Sebastian whines. I'm ready for his patter, his stories of the days when citizens of America wore suits to ball games and picnics, and especially to the cinema, as he says, not movie theater. To hell in a handbasket, Sebastian says, and he says it just like his father said it 40 years ago, as his father still says it from his motorized wheelchair at the St. Sister of Perpetual Care for the Inexplicably Alive Assisted Living Center. I thought I was going to trip over that. Sebastian hisses my name as if I'm a co-conspirator in his plans to round everyone up and dress them in Sunday suits. Julia, we shouldn't have to put up with it. You know I'm right. All those people in ripped jeans with their screaming tots, for Christ's sake, at a PG-13 cinema, throwing black jujubes on my back and talking on cell phones and blaring about whose boss has the fattest ass at the office and thunder-chomping popcorn like a herd of starving Holsteins. Sebastian, I say, keeping my eyes fixed on the road, get on with it. Right, he says, my arrest. Go on. Cleanliness, Julia, is all I ask, a bit of clean in the bathroom. We do our worst in the public bath, and all you'd expect was a little organization. Yet all I see are paper towels everywhere but in the trash, and water spilled about everywhere but in the sink, and nobody cleans up after themselves. Even as I stare ahead, I can see and feel Sebastian's caterpillar eyebrows squeezed together over his nose. So there I am, washing my hands. And in the mirror, I see a man leave a stall. A stall, still fresh with a flush, Julia. A man in a tweed coat, just like mine, with the patches at the elbows and wool slacks and Oxford shoes. Almost civilized for an American at the cinema. He zips up over the waistband of his blue boxers. Surely you think he does the right thing walking up to the sink beside me. But no, he doesn't do it. Filthy not even glancing at the faucet, like it's as foreign a thing to him as a spoon is to a newborn. All he does is swipe his hands through his perfect gray hair, admires how it settles, and walks out unwashed. So, I followed him to his cinema. You didn't. Oh, didn't I? I did. Television screen number 11, and the cinema was nearly packed, but I found him, and I found a seat behind him. He's sitting next to a fine woman, a pretty woman as much as I could tell from behind and to the side. She wasn't yabbering or anything, just watching the cinema quiz questions on the screen, barely making a mouse's noise, eating her popcorn. And he does it. Without a thought, he reaches for the popcorn bucket on her lap and plunges one of his filthy paws deep, brings popcorn to his mouth and palms it in as easy as if he had just bathed in the Garden of Eden. I leaned over between them. Sebastian, you didn't I? I did. Excuse me, madam, I say before she eats another. Do you know where your mans have been and unwashed afterwards too? To him I say, don't you know where you just were? Don't you know what you just did? Don't you know where you put your paws? And there you go, washing them in the lady's popcorn. Then the lady says, what's he talking about? He's a nut, the man says. I say, blue boxers. How come I know you're wearing blue boxers? Just as sure as I know you brought your hands from your ass to her popcorn bucket with only a swipe of your hair in between. In front of me is a car with a bumper sticker saying, how am I driving? How I wish I were in that car right now so I could have a chat about it with the driver. Sebastian squeezes my shoulder. So she says, "How come he knows about your underwear, Howard?" She looks at her bucket of popcorn like it's full of viruses and worms, which it surely was, and she dumps it on his head and stomps out, and he gets up to stomp me. But I'm not letting either one of his dirty mitts touch me, not even for a friendly pat. So I jab him with my umbrella point quick into his chest, and he falls back over the seat row onto a lady, and his stinking hands touch everything about him trying to get up. I yell for her to run because he's full of viruses and tiny worms. Pimply ushers start calling the cops on me, even when it's the other guy violating everybody's sensibilities. I say Sebastian like a falling bomb, but he's so used to it by now, it hardly matters. They kept my umbrella for evidence. Evidence, they said, if you can believe it, and they left the polluted popcorn alone. There's the real evidence. Any child's microscope would tell you. But I'll get my umbrella back. No way that man's coming to a courtroom to confess under oath about his dirty bathroom habits. I still don't understand why you insist on taking your umbrella into public bathrooms. Christ's sake, I've told you before, because you never know. I can't help it, I can't. Sebastian makes me smile. After 33 years of marriage to this man, he makes me smile so hard, I reach out to his arm, and I'm not usually one who drives with one hand. In Reader's Digest, I once read an article claiming 55% of all men don't wash their hands after wanting it, and 35% don't after chewing it. I'm not sure how anyone could run a survey like that, but how many of the unwashed percent share popcorn with their lovers at the cinema? I tell Sebastian, we're not going to the cinema anymore, never. No, we're not. He nods and pats my shoulder and kisses at my ear. Of course, honey, I always wash my hands. I love you too, Sebastian. Like a cat after the dog leaves, Sebastian settles back in his usual way when he knows one of his torments won't lead me to trouble. He pats me again with his clean hands. Thank you. I think there's a break after me, and Kevin told you about the bathrooms over there, and I'm sure you all know what to do.